Ah. Ah. No. Ow. Ah. Okay. I just saw Mary Poppins Returns. Okay, where do we even start with this? All right. My thoughts on the original Mary Poppins. Let's do that. Let's get that out of the way. Love the original Mary Poppins. I think it's a classic. It has my all-time favorite movie moment. That's when the father is walking to his job. He's going to get fired. It's just an amazing scene. Beautifully shot, no dialogue. Wonderful music. The movie itself. Even though, I mean, a lot of it's for little kids, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things about it. It's a very simple story, but there's many kind of adult elements to it that makes it kind of timeless, and the songs are timeless, and the characters are surprisingly really well done. Even stuff like Dick Van Dyke's terrible accent. He's still so likable in this, and it's a spectacle of a movie. I mean, it's one of those where when a song sequence gets going, you kind of want to keep going. It's just a rush, and it's a great mix of visual effects and practical effects and all this stuff. It's a great magical journey that's just about a family trying to grow closer together, particularly the father with the children. A very simple story, you know, even back then, those were kind of done before, but still had a lot of heart, a lot of charm, a lot of intelligence. Absolutely love it. Now we have this one, made decades later. I think everyone agrees it doesn't need to exist. Even watching the trailer, people are like, cool, well, it'll be neat to see this kind of stuff again. And I'll first get out of the way who will probably like this movie. If you have little kids, maybe 5 or 6. I think you're risking it a little bit if you go older, but if you have like little kids, this is totally fine. And it's kind of really geared towards them, where the first film was definitely for little kids, but had a lot of these adult elements too. And this one tries, but we'll get to that. Mainly, like, when a song sequence happens, this is not like an updated Mary Poppins. This is very much trying to capture the original. It's funny that this is a sequel because it feels very much like a remake, like unbelievably like a remake, but they sing different songs and they say different words at this scene that looks eerily similar to the first one and came along at the same time. With that said, if you're just looking for that nostalgia of Mary Poppins. I love Mary Poppins, but I'm like, I got the movie. I'm good. I can just watch that one again. But there's a lot of people that want to relive it. Like, a lot of people saw the new Beauty and the Beast, and they loved it because they love the nostalgia. I get it. Cool, this is perfect for that, because there's a lot of, remember last time? Oh, hey, remember when you said this? Well, is it like, quote from the first movie? Yes, but with this new spin, that's not really much of a spin, it's just kind of different words, but it's that same idea. It's like Mary Poppins comfort food, I guess. You saw it before, if you liked it, and you want to just see something super similar, you'll get it. This is very much that kind of movie, and I feel like there are going to be people that like this movie just because it's cool to see Mary Poppins again, and with slightly different problems, but they just want to go back to this world, and they want kind of these new characters and such, which, again, are like the old characters, but okay. So, if you're just going in for nostalgic value, I get it. Like, I always make the comparison to the second Sin City, which is a lot of the same, but I love that world, I love those characters, and it's not like you're less of a person or you're missing something. It's just, you're going for the nostalgia, and that's cool, that's wonderful. With that said, this movie starts out and goes really bad. Just imagine you're watching the first movie again, except they just suck out the freshness of it and the surprise of it and the spontaneity of it because they're just recreating a lot of the first film again, and then throw in chase scenes and a villain. Because Mary Poppins really needed a villain. Yeah, we're doing this shit. And not just a villain, an early 90s villain. Just take a wild guess from the trailers, everything, who the villain in this movie is. It's the bank! Of course, it's this evil guy who owns the bank, and the movie is set up so that it's years later, and Jane and Michael are grown up. Jane and Michael are the best part of this movie, I'm just going to say right now. Wonderfully acted. Actually, most of the acting in this was pretty good. But they especially, I have no problem believing it's them. They feel like the only characters that have kind of evolved. They've actually grown up. They're a little different. And I love that. But with that said, they get in this problem because Michael's wife died some time ago, and she handled all the finances. Well, now the house is going to be foreclosed on, or it's going to be repossessed, and they need to find these. They don't have the money, and they need to find this sheet of paper that shows that the father gave them some shares that'll make them safe. First of all, your kid is already totally in this, right? Talking about like shares and going to banks and stuff like that, like in the original, like, the bank talk was meant to be confusing. That was part of the fun. Like, no kid would understand it. But this is like, no, this is a big part of the story. There's, like, a lot of bank talk in this. So I hope you're excited for that. So they go and they're like, well, maybe if we go to the bank, we can see that they have, the information there written down. But the evil bank owner, he wants that house. So he looks at it and says, oh, that's weird. There's no recorded information. Well, I'll look for it further. Take care. Crumples it up, throws it in the fire. What was on that sheet? Oh, it was their name. That's the information. He's a bad man. We're doing this shit. And not only that, in the climax, because Mary Poppins has a climax now, they're rushing, like, on these bikes, doing, like, BMX tricks, which is really weird. They're not chimney sweeps anymore. Now they're the lighters, they light the lamps. Totally different. They're rushing to race the clock because the banker said, I'll give them to midnight. Looking at his watch and everything. And there's a chase scene where they're trying to get to the bank and then they're trying to get to the clock to turn back time, stop Big Ben, turn off all the lights in there and then push back the giant hand. Immediate problem. Here is the immediate problem. Mary Poppins is not this kind of story, because if it was this kind of story, why doesn't she just fly up and do it herself? Well, she does eventually. Spoilers. I'm sorry. It's just so stupid, I don't give a fuck. She flies up while Jack, totally different character. Jack goes up there hanging on a limb. He's gonna fight some goddamn Big Ben. He's gonna fall over. And, like, his life, he's trying to push and he's hanging on. Christ, I don't know if I can do it. I'm seeing the angels. I'm gonna kill me. And Mary Poppins comes in with her umbrella. It's like, oh, I can do this. It's like, why didn't you do that before? Why you having to risk his life? They're trying to put a logical story to this that's already so illogical and so rehashed from the early 90s. But then to make it even better, once they see the time hasn't hit that yet, Jane and Michael are going in, and the big bad banker, he's like, close the doors, and the bankers go, and the lawyers, I'm sorry, because they're evil too, they go to the door, they try to keep it closed, and they can't get in, and it's like, what is this? This is not Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins, the climax was a dude walking to the bank to face his destiny. He was going to stand up for his kids, even though it was going to cost him his job, like his legacy was in this bank. Everything was in this bank, but he found out his kids were more important, and he was going there, and he stood proud for his kids, and then when it all happened, he laughed, and he found his inner child, and then so did the banker, and so forth. That's the climax. And it was beautifully done. It was artistically done. It looked phenomenal. This not only has a chase scene at the end, but imagine the merry-go-round scene in the first one, because they do that again. Oh, sorry, it's a pot. They're on this little china pot. So it's totally different. But still animated animals flying around. They sing a song. They sing a song with weird words that are long and complicated. And it's just that. But just imagine in the merry-go-round scene in the first one, if, like, the fox was like, oh, getting away from them dogs. And they just turns to the camera with an evil smile. And then, after supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, the fox, just starts stealing everyone's shit. Loads it onto a truck and goes, and drives off and kidnaps Michael, and Jane and the others are trying to rescue him, on their little merry-go-round horses, and it gets dark, and the forest is, trying to eat them too, and the fox is going, and then they just wake up from this terrible nightmare. It turns out it was symbolic of the evil bank that wanted to take him away. That's this movie! That's what this movie does! Christ! I mean, this is so fascinating. Because this is trying to recreate the magic and the wonder of Mary Poppins, and throughout a good chunk of it, even though I wasn't getting into it, I'm like, this is an understandable attempt. I can see why someone would bring their family to this and why someone would enjoy it and stuff, but then you try to add this threat of these evil people. Mary Poppins, weirdly enough, doesn't need a bad guy. Did you even goddamn watch Saving Mr. Banks? That's what it was about. It was taking out the bad guy. It was making it so that they were just people. The focus of the first movie was these two kids trying to reconnect with their father, and the father trying to teach them not to grow up too fast, to let them be kids. I mean, the Michael's only 5 or something like that, or he wants to open him an account, and he's trying to teach what to do with his money, and he's trying to say, no, you can give to the bird lady there, and again, just going back to Saving Mr. Banks. God damn it, Disney! You made this movie! You should know what it's about! Where, Disney would just sit down and they just play, Feed the Birds, and you'd be like, that's what it's all about. That's Mary Poppins, and that is what it's all about, and it's beautiful, and it's simple, and that's why it works, and that's why people are still watching it years later. It's not about trying to save this goddamn house from this evil banker, you idiots! You idiots! Are you nuts? So here's what's so funny. I was watching a good chunk of this movie, honestly, totally fine. I'm watching it okay, this just feels like repeat. I mean, everything. It starts out showing the house in disarray, and then the kids are unhappy. The kids, you could, if you're to tell me, what's the personality of the girl? The same as the two boys. They're all identical. They're like Huey, Dewey, and Louie. But they're all acting up, and they find out the big bad bank wants to come and take the house away. And, and Michael has a song about how things aren't how they used to be and are, just crumbling down. And then Mary Poppins comes in saying she needs to save the bank's children again, pretty much. And their other kids too, the three kids, because Jane and Michael are the bank's kids. Jane has to go on another political march because, again, first movie, and they're just and of course Michael doesn't know about this, but well, I guess why is he kind of weirdly resistant to this? This was the nanny that he just associates with saving his life, but now he thinks that they were kids, so they imagined it, which at first I thought was kind of cool, because I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of like that, because, did they? What was real and what wasn't? But, big shock at the end, it's all real. And so then they go, and it's well, let's do bath time. Again, you're just taking a chore that the kids don't like, and you turn it into this magical adventure, snap, a job's a game, and then they run into Bert number 2, which is played by Lin-Manuel, who is playing a guy named Jack, who I forget if he's Bert's son, or he just knew Bert or something, but he's playing Bert. And it's just like in the original, it comes a crumb, but instead of going in a chalk drawing, they go inside this china pot, which at first, again, is kind of cool, because there's everything's kind of shaped like a china pot. They have the little cracks in there and stuff like that, and that's kind of clever. But then they just go into the supercalifragilistic stuff again. They just make up new words. And what's a shame, the songs in this are actually good. They're well-written, smart songs, and the lyrics especially. I mean, just every beat has a word to it. It's a weird word, and it's one of those I can see, kids watching it and trying to recreate those songs, United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, they have songs like that, and I can see kids trying to go in and recreate them and stuff like that, but all you're thinking about is, well, that's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Well, that's like feed the birds. Well, that's like this. And after they get out, then they, after the animated scene, with a chase scene by these wolves who are symbolic of the bankers, like I said, they go to bed. But they don't want to go to bed because they're thinking of their lost mother. So she sings a song in bed, like the other time she sang a song in bed to try and calm them down. And then, well, what else? Well, let's just think what happens in Mary Poppins. Well, they go to the tea party on the day. Yeah, that's right. They have another Edwin in this, played by Meryl Streep, doing this weird, I think it's Russia, I'm not sure. It is some sort of accent. And it's a cute idea that the house flips upside down. Just this room flips upside down, and they sing a little song about it. It's cute, but I'm just thinking about Edwin, and I love to laugh, and the song sounds very similar to that. So then they leave and they have this run-in at the bank. Again, the kids at the bank. Didn't that happen right after 2? Yes, it did. And they don't get along there and they're thrown out and the father is very angry at what happened at the bank. And then they get lost in the night. Like in the first film when they got lost at the night, but they come across Bert number 2, who has his whole crew of other chimney sweeps, lamp lighters, and they do all these, acrobatics and stuff, which are cool, they're neat. The BMX bike tricks, again, were a little weird, but, it's still impressive. They're doing all the stuff, but all you're thinking of is goddamn stepping time. So instead of saying, man, this is such a rush, this is so new, I can't wait to see where it goes, I just wanted to keep going forever. Stepping time goes on for like eons, but I never want it to end. It's amazing. I'm just thinking, when is this gonna wrap up? Because I just want to watch Steppin' Time. I just want to watch it when it was fresh and new. And then, you just get to this stupid climax where they're trying to, race against the clock, literally, to get, this piece of paper to the bank, and the big bad banker, wants to throw it in the fire, go, I mean, it's, Christ, damn it. It pisses me off because a lot of people are like saying, this is kind of its own thing, and I respect that. It's, in my opinion, it's so clearly not. Every moment I'm thinking back to the original. I'm thinking the original did that, the original did this, they did in the exact same order. Even Fly a Kite, now it's hold on to a balloon, fly a balloon. It's the exact same thing. The only part that I felt was actually kind of legitimately like, oh, that's kind of warm, is Angela Lansbury has a cameo at the end, who I feel like they were originally going to get Julie Andrews for that, but I don't know. I know she has a problem singing now too, so I mean, maybe that's part of it. I have no idea. But yeah, Angela Lansbury's there at the end, and she's still, your heart just melts when you see her. It's like, oh my God, she's so great. But yeah, it's still the exact same thing, and then the wind changes, but instead of the windmill this time, it's a door opening. So completely different. The story evolves, and Mary Poppins takes off. Again, it's really not a spoiler because, like everything, if you've seen the first film, you've seen this film. But it's a sequel. It's so bizarre, and it's such a shame because I feel like there was a lot of talent and effort that went into this. And again, maybe people will really get a lot out of it. There are a lot of critics that are liking it. The theater I saw it in was dead empty, but I saw it like on a Wednesday night. But yeah, I don't know how audiences are going to react, but I will say the focus is definitely on the little kids. And when they try to do the stuff for the adults, it's nothing. I mean, it's like singing about the mother being gone. Okay, like just they do that once and then they do it again, and that's about it for singing about, for it discussing the loss of a loved one. I really thought that was going to be like the focus of this. I thought it was going to be more on the wife being gone, but it's mentioned in passing in the beginning. I guess he sings a little song about it, but that's a little bit more of how things are in disarray, but it's like, and then you just kind of ignore it. The kids, except for one scene where they say, I miss my mom, they really don't go through any, like, loss. They never act like they're going through loss anyway. And then the father has a meltdown and the kids sing to him and it's all better. I mean, by the end, you kind of forget there is even a dead mother in it, which is weird because it's a Disney film. They always like to hammer that in. So, man. like I said, this is definitely a movie for younger, little kids. Nothing is really, in terms of tone, nothing is updated. And if you're gonna do this, incredibly pointless sequel, update it. Add some new stuff. Don't just change the location or change a character's name. Just really do some new stuff with it. And some callbacks are fine. Like having the house flip upside down, or the room flip upside down, and they have to walk through it and sing a little song. It's like, okay, one or two of those are fine, but when it's the whole movie, I could not wait for it to be over. And it's not that it was like torturous, because like I said, they're all good actors. The kids, even though they're not written very well, they act very well. Emily Blunt, for the most part, is a good Poppins. The only time I don't buy it is when she smiles. Like, Poppins is a tough character to play. I mean, she legitimately is. And Andrews does it great because she can be strict and stern, but when she smiles, it feels genuine. Like, you feel like, no, she's actually enjoying this moment. She's just enjoying it as a human being. And here, it's like, I buy the sternness, but whenever she smiles, I'm like, nah, you're not having fun. You're just trying to be Julie Andrews. And the music throughout this whole thing, Mark Shaman was a wonderful composer. He did like the Addams Family movies and stuff. I mean, just brilliant talent. They just told him to crank it up to like 90 billion because it won't shut up. When it does shut up, the scenes are weirdly boring, but maybe that's why they told him to go so over the top, because like I said, there's a lot of talk about banks and paperwork and finances and stuff. And again, for a movie where it's like the kids go in the bath and they're in this little underwater world and they're singing with the little octopus and stuff like that, and there's no adult jokes or anything, why do you want to have so much bank talk in this? Why do you want to have, it's like, I give it credit that it tries to have quiet moments in it, and it even tries to have some darker moments in it. They just suck. They're not good at it. Visually, it's not bad. I'm just thinking of the first one the whole time. Like, wow, that looks nice, but man, in the first one, those buildings, the colors popped, even when it was like gray. It's like that gray popped. It was amazing. And with this one, it's like, well, okay, the technology's updated, that's nice, but it's just more of the same. And I don't know, for me, I don't want to see more of the same. This has had years and years of, waiting to exist, another Mary Poppins story. And it's not a bad idea to go in and try to help this family that's lost a loved one, but it's like the loved one's barely mentioned, and it's more about saving this stupid house. I should have given the movie more credit if they didn't get the house back, if it was lost, and it's about moving on, at least it'd be a little different. But no, they just do the early 90s cliche. I was actually waiting for people in shades and black suits to be driving black cars after them, because it was just that, you've seen that so much in those old 90s movies. But it sounds like I'm really, really hating this, and it's actually, in the grand scheme of things, it's not an awful movie. It's just something that hit me in just the right areas where I get really angry at it. But even I'll acknowledge, it's not like this is one of the worst movies of the year or anything like that. Not even close. Because like I said, there's good acting, there's good cinematography. The songs are good. Because I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, they're not memorable. I was actually humming some of the tunes, but then I would go right back to what they were in the first movie, singing the balloon song at the end, but then I just go into Let's Go Fly a Kite. It's one, there's nowhere to go but up, let's go fly a kite. I just go right into it. And that's clearly what they're designed to do. I mean, beat by beat. It's almost like they're trying to set up a Mary Poppins formula so they can get them out faster, so they can have Poppins Cinematic Universe, I don't know. But so they can just have this formula, come out so they can make them faster and faster. I mean, and it was so depressing because the trailers were nothing but remakes. And that really is what this is. It's a remake. That they change a few words, they change a few locations, and make some characters, look a little different, but they're doing the same thing. And what they do add in terms of story is really stupid and dated. Like I said, I expect to see like, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor Thomas or something running around with like, oh no, we gotta get to the bank. You know, I wanted to see him go, awesome, yeah! Like, it's just so stupid. So the focus of Mary Poppins, in my opinion, should be about a family coming together, and this woman who comes down and sort of teaches them, is stern, but also has this surprising side of fun to her, and she's kind of a mystery. You can't figure her out. But they bring a family closer, and each one learns something. The kids learn more. In the first film, they're supposed to be bratty. They're really not. But they're supposed to be, a little bit more understanding of the father. I mean, the Michael comes and gives them the tuffins at the end, stuff like that. And the father is supposed to learn how to be, give into his inner child a bit and give more. I mean, he's all about saving, which is good. But, it's like 2 coins. Michael doesn't want to spend it on candy. He wants to spend it on this bird lady, just feeding birds. It's just something nice. Clearly has no home, and she's just sitting there on the steps, and it's like, oh, what a beautiful thing, what a tiny little thing. It's a little movie with big talent and big visuals and big songs and big fun. But it's supposed to be a little movie. It's not supposed to be our lives are gonna be thrown out the window, literally. We're gonna have to live on the street. We have no money unless we get it to the bank, and this big bad banker is gonna get us, and he has it out for us. Oh, we can just throw all our problems on the bad guy like the first film did? No, there's no bad guy. So I thought, for all the repeating that they do in this movie, I thought they really missed the idea about what Mary Poppins was about. And why that's gonna hold up, why people are gonna keep watching that over and over, and it's going to last years and years beyond this one. And I think this movie will have its fans. And like I said, you can show it to your kids, you can relive the nostalgia, but all you're going to be thinking about is the first one. Which I know, it's inevitable for a sequel. And it's tough to make a sequel to this. I can't act like it's easy. This is decades later. The first one's a classic. And I don't know what I would do. It's a tough thing, but I mean, it's like, you don't do this, in my opinion. You try to add something a little bit more unique, a little bit more fresh and leaping off the screen, because that's what the first film did. I mean, nobody really saw anything like that before. We've seen this before. We saw it in Mary Poppins, and we saw it done better. So to me, this was a big letdown, but it's totally fine for little kids, people who want to relive their nostalgia, and not, if you got a brain that thinks way too much like mine when it comes to this kind of stuff. I mean, it's okay, but like I said, there's no... A lot of movies nowadays for families try to sort of update things a little bit. They try to have, kind of a more adult sense of humor, a little faster, a little quicker. There's a little bit more wordplay. And there's wordplay in the songs, but it's the exact same that the first movie did. In my opinion, the first film has a little bit more of like an adult edge to it, which I know is weird because they're singing around with like sheep and horses and singing about how great Mary is. But I mean, if you look at the father and the help and the wife and all that stuff, there is a little bit more to it, where this one just has, honestly, it just has Jane and Michael, who, like I said, are the only parts in the movie where every time they came on, I'm like, I love these two. They are just so good at capturing what those two kids were and evolving them, like literally growing them up. And they're the one things where I'm like, they were spot on. But yeah, everything else, it's not awful, it's just the same. And if you're looking for the same, fair enough. If you saw the trailer and you were like, "Ooh, that looks enchanting, I'm really excited for this," you might like it. There's nothing that people can't see, there's nothing insulting to like a moviegoer, I should say. It's more insulting if you're a die-hard Mary Poppins fan, which I am. I actually really, really love that movie. But if you're just looking for something to kind of check your brain out, go back and live in a happy world where there's animated fish and dogs dancing and elephants and it's hand-drawn again, which is great to see. You'll get it, and I don't think you're gonna like it as much as the first one. I don't think anyone is gonna be like, No, that was better than the first one. I mean, maybe they're out there, I don't know, but it seems unlikely because so much of it is repeated. So, yeah, that's about it. That's my rant on it. So I'm sure I went on forever on that, but I love Mary Poppins. I love the first movie, and this is just I can tell it tried very hard. This is not a movie where I'm like, oh my god, it's just so lazy, you know. But when you're trying to add that logic in there, there's a scene where they're riding a bike and they put, the kids on it, Mary Poppins, and the music's like, doo-doo, and they start riding off. It's like, ba-bum, ba-bum. Like, this is a really big deal. Like, they just fit all these people on this bike. It's like 5 people, and they have a ladder and stuff like that. And it's like, in this day and age, like if I went outside and saw that, I'd be like, wow, that's really cool. But in a world where you were just swimming underwater and a woman's flying on an umbrella, that's not amazing. And I feel like this movie does not have an idea of its world or what's amazing or what the first one was really about. But it's got some nice songs, some bright, colorful imagery, and a lot of stuff that's very similar to the first one. Too similar in my opinion, but is very similar. And there can be people looking for that. So if you're not looking to really be that challenged or anything like that, I mean, I can't argue there is some challenging stuff in Mary Poppins. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, like, look at that ending. Look where he's walking to the bank. Look where he has to, lose his job and everything. I mean, it's a challenging scene, and it's done without dialogue. Even Feed the Birds is a very challenging song in many respects. It's a beautiful song, but it's so simple too. And I really felt the things that should have been simple were too complicated, and the things that should have been complicated were too simple. That's my overall take. But it's fine to take the kids too, and it's fine to relive your nostalgia at. So hopefully that helps. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out there, man. I had to get that out. It's not an awful movie. It's just not my movie. It's not my Mary Poppins. But if you love it. Go ahead and enjoy it. So that's about it. I shall see you later. Take care.